Now on to the big story of the day. North Korea claims it has successfully tested a hydrogen bomb, and the U.S. is working to determine whether or not they're even telling the truth.
Yeah, bringing about a lot of concern now. An H-bomb is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And if the claim is true, that's going to be a major step for North Korea's nuclear capabilities. And joining us now from Washington is Chris Harmer, a senior naval analyst for the Institute for the Study of War. And I guess the first question for you today, from a tactical standpoint, what does it mean for the United States if North Korea really does have a hydrogen bomb?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's an absolute game changer. If the North Koreans, in fact, have developed a hydrogen weapon, that changes all of the calculus of a nuclear exchange on the Korean Peninsula. Look, nobody wants to think in those terms. We thought with the end of the Cold War we were done with the nuclear exchange scenario. Unfortunately, North Korea continues to develop and advance its nuclear program. A small nuclear weapon is a survivable scenario for South Korea. A hydrogen weapon simply is not survivable. The yield is hundreds of times greater on a hydrogen weapon than on a nuclear weapon, and it just changes all the calculations of our anti-missile defense systems in South Korea. It makes it virtually impossible to come up with any type of a logical defense against it. The only way really you can defend against a hydrogen bomb being detonated over South Korea is to attack it at its source. So in my opinion, this is a hugely destabilizing event. Now, with that said, we do not yet have confirmation that it was in fact a hydrogen bomb. The North Korean government claims it was a hydrogen bomb. So far, the yield looks to me like it was not a hydrogen bomb, but we won't know for several days. The U.S. government has the ability to go in and test the atmospheric residue and find out if this was a nuclear bomb or a hydrogen bomb, but we won't know that for several days, and that's assuming that the government releases that information.
I know it's hard to know precisely what North Korea is capable of, but what sort of range would they have? I mean, could they attack the United States?
Yeah, well, the holy grail for North Korea has always been the ability to develop an intercontinental ballistic missile that is capable of reaching the United States and capable of lifting a nuclear weapon to the United States. They've made significant and continuous increases in their demonstrated range of their continental ballistic missile. Nothing yet that I think can carry a nuclear warhead to the United States, but they're certainly on track with that. The real challenge for the North Koreans is miniaturizing a nuclear device so that it can reach the United States. But that has been their stated aim all along. So right now, they absolutely have the ability to range the entire South Korean peninsula. They've got the ability to range the entire Japanese landmass. They've got the ability probably to strike as far as Singapore and even Australia. They do not yet have the demonstrated ability to strike as far as the United States. So clearly, this is a bad development. Even if it's just a nuclear weapon, it's still a bad development. It's another successful nuclear test for the North Korean regime.
Well, Chris, the entire world has been keeping its eye on this leader for quite some time now. What does North Korean leader Kim Jong-un want out of all of this?
Yeah, the first thing I learned about trying to analyze North Korea, I was stationed in Japan from 2002 to 2005. I was deeply involved in military training and exercises. The best advice I ever got was don't try to understand the North Korean regime. They're completely immune from external analysis because the way they act is so contrary to what we would think is in their best interest. As far as we can tell, the only thing that the North Korean regime is interested in is maintaining its power, suppressing its own people against this imaginary threat that the rest of the world's going to invade North Korea. So they're developing this weapon, I believe, as an antidote to any external meddling in their internal affairs. Now, with that said, it's obvious that North Korea is a complete police state. Anybody who can get out does, but for all practical purposes, they've enslaved their own population in service of this dictatorial regime.
You know, North Korea has a few allies. China is one, but another ally is Iran, and they have worked together. The two countries have worked together before in terms of technology. Do we know whether or not they're working together in terms of their nuclear development, or in the case of Iran, I suppose, Iran suspending its nuclear development, right?
Well, we know for a fact that there's been significant technology transfer from North Korea to Iran on other weapon systems. For example, the Iranian submarine program is entirely a copy of the North Korean submarine program. The Iranian shipbuilders simply took the North Korean designs and started building. North Korean ballistic missiles, their short and medium-range ballistic missiles, the Shahab series of missiles are simply another knockoff of a North Korean design. North Korea gave them the blueprints, the design elements, and the Iranian technology and industry went forward with that. We believe that there is significant technology transfer going on between North Korea and Iran in terms of the nuclear program, but we just don't know. Because the Iranians have never detonated a nuclear device, to the best of our knowledge, they don't actually have one at this point. We can't really assess what level of technology transfer is there. We know that there's technology transfer in the Iranian submarine program. We know that there's technology transfer from North Korea to Iran in the ballistic missile program. It's reasonable to assume that there's technology transfer from North Korea to Iran in the nuclear program, but we just don't know the extent of it. This makes more sense when you look at it as North Korea and Iran not being necessarily allies ideologically, but allies of convenience. They both hate the United States. They both hate the West in general. They're both dictatorial regimes. So they are acting together. They're colluding in their weapons research program, probably also in their nuclear weapons research, simply as a bulwark against the West.
A lot of questions and concerns on this latest development moving forward. Chris, you're the expert. Chris Harmer reporting. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.